This break in a massive underground sewer line was spewing out raw sewage for almost a week. So far, about 300 million gallons of sewage has made its way into the Potomac River. But over the weekend, DC water crews were successful in activating these bypass pumps, which are diverting the majority of that sewage now into the previously empty C&O Canal, where gravity takes the sewage down to these intakes, directing the sewage back into the system. The stream that was pushing millions of gallons of sewage each day into the river has now been greatly reduced. But Dean Nyox, the Potomac Riverkeeper, worries about the damage already done.
I'm glad that DC Water has come up with a plan to try and divert the flow and minimize the impacts of the river. But again, is this going to continue to work, and how long will it take to actually fix this problem before no sewage is discharging into the Potomac River, and then they still have to clean this mess up?
Nyox Group got their first test results back from water samples taken here at the spill site in Maryland and downriver in DC. According to the Potomac Riverkeeper's test results, E. coli levels at the spill site in Maryland are nearly 12,000 times higher than the limit for safe human contact. Downriver in DC at Fletcher's Boathouse, E. coli levels are 60 times higher than the safe limit.
We found alarmingly high numbers of sewage, E. coli in the river. We also tested in the river right below the discharge, then we tested all the way down, about 4 miles down, and everywhere we tested downstream we found very, very high levels of E. coli. But the bottom line is everything you find in normal sewage, whether it's bacteria, pathogens, parasite, is all in this discharge, and it's all in the river right now. And I'm really disappointed that our public health departments have not come out here and tried to do any sampling that I'm aware of. Neither Maryland, Montgomery County, or DC or Virginia, nobody has stepped up to the plate.
A spokesperson for DC Water did not dispute the test results, but tells News 4 they do anticipate water quality will improve once the overflow is completely contained. No word on how long that or the final cleanup will take. And if you're wondering, yeah, it's not just the smell that is absolutely revolting down here, but if you open your mouth, you can't help but taste it. From the C&O Canal, Mark Seagraves, News 4.
Our 8 News Now investigators breaking yet more news about that biolab that was raided over the weekend. Documents we obtained reveal several people got sick from it. 8 News Now investigator David Charnes breaking that story. And David, what are you learning about it tonight?
Well, these new documents say several people became sick from that suspected lab inside a house that police and the FBI are labeling as an Airbnb or a short-term rental. Metro showing this video of the inside of that lab inside that Northeast Valley's home garage. We've learned a person tipped off the FBI in early January that garage was locked and that there were fridges running inside. A person telling those investigators that it smelled like a hospital with a, quote, foul, stale, stagnant air smell. Now, documents say several days after entering that garage, 2 people became, quote, deathly ill. They said they couldn't get out of bed, and several other people had gotten sick there before. Also learning items from this lab were moved from a different location here in the valley, possibly from several years ago when that location failed to get a state license. Now, as we first reported over the weekend, this lab is connected to a lab the feds actually raided 3 years ago in 2023. That location there in Reedley, California, outside Fresno. Inside, officials found similar equipment and pathogens like HIV and malaria. Court documents in that case mention Las Vegas and possible warehouses here. And today, I asked the city manager for that community about her reaction to this latest lab. What was your reaction when you saw over the weekend that all these same people were involved in yet another potential biolab, but this time in Las Vegas?
I will say that I was not surprised. I mean, I have sympathy for Vegas, and I feel very bad for that community that they had to endure what they endured over the weekend. But we were not surprised when we heard about it way back in 2023 when this case hit. Through simple search docs, Google, etc., we found multiple connections to Las Vegas, and a congressional investigation that was done on our case, which is public, showed some ties to warehouses in Vegas.
So now the question is why this lab existed if it may have been on the radar or someone's radar 3 years ago. The 8 News Now investigators first to report how Metro arrested this man, 55-year-old Ori Solomon, the property manager of that home, learning today he runs multiple short-term rentals. Prosecutors say he's here on a non-immigrant visa. He can't own any guns, but documents say during that raid on Saturday, officers seized rifles and handguns from him. They say he's been in contact with the man in federal custody connected to the raid in California and whose business owns this Northeast Valley home. Solomon appeared in federal court this afternoon. He's going to remain in custody for at least a couple more days until his next hearing. And in that hearing, we could hear more charges filed against him as Metro and the FBI are awaiting those results to find out exactly what they seized from that house. No indication right now there is any further threat. We, of course, also reached out to Airbnb about all this, and I've not heard back. I'm David Charnes, 8 News Now.
Also to add here, that city manager and others in the Fresno area are calling on Congress to address gaps in federal law in the regulation of highly infectious agents and laboratories.
Dr. Sutton, thanks for being here. What is fueling this current outbreak, and how much faster is this spreading than prior outbreaks we've seen?
Well, Janae, we passed a significant milestone. The current outbreak in South Carolina is now the largest outbreak of measles in the United States in over 25 years. That surpassed last year's Texas outbreak, and it done so in a shorter period of time, nearly 847 documented cases.
A potentially deadly bacterial infection is making its way through a Berkeley homeless encampment. As KTVU's Henry Lee explains, city officials are asking those at the camp to move.
We found 3-year-old Sylvia the pit bull roaming around a large homeless encampment near 7th and Harrison in West Berkeley, ground zero for a bacterial outbreak that has affected rats and dogs. The city wants those living at the camp to move. But Sylvia's owner, who wished to be identified as Popcorn, says he's not worried.
Paul's program came down and vaccinated her, and they came back with a booster shot.
The city of Berkeley said many rats and 2 5-month-old puppies were believed to have been infected by leptospirosis, also known as lepto. One of the dogs had to be put down. Lepto is a disease that can be fatal to humans and dogs who are exposed to rat urine in water or mud. The city says the rats have made it unsafe for homeless camps in an area bounded by San Pablo Avenue, Gilman Street, Codornices Creek, and the railroad tracks.
It is an infection that's found here in the United States, but it's associated often with homelessness and homeless encampments.
UCSF infectious disease expert Dr. Monica Gandhi says as a result, the unhoused are particularly vulnerable.
Unfortunately, that's where the rats are, wandering, and it basically gets into the soil from the urine. And then that's how it gets picked up for humans.
We found what appeared to be a dead rat along Harrison. Cause of death unknown.
I think it's fictitious. I don't think it's real.
This man, who wanted to be identified only as Tree, says he's formerly homeless. He said he doesn't believe city public health officials are concerned for their welfare.
They're lying.
Why?
Because they don't look out for everybody's health down here. Lifelong comes down here and takes care of them. The city doesn't have anything to do with it.
Berkeley cannot clear the encampment because of an ongoing battle in federal court. But the city's asking those at the camp to move at least 1/3 of a mile away from the Harrison Street corridor. Mark Gattini was dropping off material from UC Berkeley at the nearby post office, but said he wasn't worried about any exposure.
Not really, no. I use PPE and I don't have direct contact with anything, so I feel like I'm fairly safe.
It's a good idea, I guess. I don't know. I don't know where to move, though. That's the problem. Like, where do I go? Like, where am I supposed to go?
Where are they going to move to? Anywhere they move, they're going to be arrested for homeless.
Tree said he does not own a dog and isn't worried about infected pooches.
No, I'm a cat person.
Public health officials note there is a lepto vaccine for dogs, but not for humans. In Berkeley, Henry Lee, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
The outbreak of a deadly virus in India has much of the world on high alert, with fears of another pandemic. Travellers are being stopped and screened for Nipah virus at all major Asian airports, including Bali. The global response to the outbreak eerily similar to scenes during COVID.
Checking for the deadly Nipah virus. Travellers arriving in Bali and other holiday spots can expect to undergo thermal scans.
Of course, we're all afraid of all the viruses, especially after corona.
We're monitoring it very closely. We're engaging with other authorities internationally, including the World Health Organization.
Nipah virus kills 40 to 75% of those infected with it. Symptoms include high fever, nausea, vomiting and difficulty breathing. India has recorded 2 cases, triggering a global response, with screening stepped up in Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam and China. Humans are typically infected by fruit bats or pigs, or by eating fruit tainted by sick animals. It can spread person to person, but that's not common.
So far, only 2 patients have tested positive. The remaining contacts, approximately 190 to 200 of them, have been quarantined.
The 2 people infected were health workers, but all their contacts tested negative. In 2018, a deadly outbreak in Kerala, southern India, killed 17 people. But Indian authorities say this latest outbreak has been contained.
The health department says Nipah virus is deadly but also very rare, never recorded in Australia. As for travellers, they should take precautions if visiting somewhere with cases. Right now, that's only West Bengal in India. Advice is to avoid contact with fruit bats, pigs and infected people. Mark.
James Carmody in Perth, thank you.
And our final story today is from India. In several neighbourhoods of East Indian city Chennai, mornings have begun with an unsettling sight. Black feathers scattered across roads, pavements and parks. This as the carcasses of hundreds of crows were found across the area. Authorities have confirmed an outbreak of the highly pathogenic H5N1 avian influenza virus. Laboratory tests conducted on samples collected by officials have confirmed the virus. The Union Ministry of Animal Husbandry has now written to the Tamil Nadu government, urging immediate surveillance and containment measures.
Positive case for highly pathogenic avian influenza raises significant concerns about the rapid spread of the virus. The situation demands urgent attention to mitigate risks to both animal and human health. It is requested that the One Health approach be implemented, integrating the efforts across various sectors, including human health and wildlife, to address the issue in a comprehensive manner.
But what is H5N1 and why are officials so worried? It is commonly known as bird flu and is a highly dangerous strain of influenza A. The flu primarily affects wild birds and poultry. It spreads rapidly among bird populations and causes high mortality in flocks. Human infections are rare, but when they occur, they can be severe. It often involves health issues like pneumonia and serious respiratory illness. And the fatality rates are higher than seasonal flu. There are no confirmed human cases in Tamil Nadu so far, but health agencies are treating the outbreak seriously as the virus can occasionally jump species after close exposure. Doctors urge people to seek medical help if flu-like symptoms appear after bird exposure. The symptoms include fever, coughing, a sore throat, and breathing difficulties. But why are the deaths of crows a worrying sign? Well, that's because these birds act like an early warning system. They move between garbage dumps, water bodies, and human settlements. Their deaths often signal the circulation of a virus in the wider environment. Officials fear the infection could spill into backyard poultry, commercial farms, other animals, and subsequently into humans. Recent bird flu detections in Bihar have added to the concerns. Authorities have launched a multi-layered response across Tamil Nadu. Strict disposal rules are in place. The dead birds must be incarcerated or simply and deeply buried. No field post-mortems are allowed, and carcasses have to be sent to designated disease labs. Several public advisories are also in place for residents, including do not touch the birds, report dead bird sightings immediately, use gloves in the case of unavoidable contact, and wash hands thoroughly after exposure. Forest officials and local bodies have also been instructed to immediately report bird deaths.
केंद्र सरकार ने समय-समय पर एनिमल हस्बेंड्री डिपार्टमेंट ने समय-समय पर इस प्रकार की एडवाइजरी हम लोग करते रहते हैं और हम लोग उस पर पूरा फोकस किए हुए हैं, ध्यान रखें और उस पर नियंत्रण करेंगे.
And the government has also launched several public awareness campaigns, disinfection drives in affected areas, while officials are also tracking unusual mortality patterns. The goal is simple: stop the virus before it reaches farms or people. For now, Chennai's outbreak is primarily an animal health crisis and not a human one. But it also is a warning. Bird flu does not begin in hospitals. It begins quietly, in trees, lakesides, rooftops and streets, among creatures that share the city long before people notice. And sometimes the first sign is something as simple as a quiet morning without crows.